Ethan Cole opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt. The room spun around him. This was not his bed. This was not his ship. The walls were smooth and curved. Strange blue lights pulsed along the ceiling. He tried to move, but strong straps held his arms and legs down to a cold metal table. "Where am I?" he asked. His voice echoed in the empty room. He turned his head to look around. The room was unlike any he had seen before. Everything was clean and shiny. The technology looked far more advanced than anything humans had built. Ethan knew then he was on an alien ship. The last thing he remembered was the battle near Proxima Centauri. His ship, the Defender, had been fighting against an unknown alien fleet. They were winning. The aliens were retreating. Then a bright flash of light, and now this. A door slid open with a soft hiss. A figure stepped into the room. In the dim light, Ethan could see it was shaped like a woman, but definitely not human. She was tall and thin with smooth skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Her eyes were large and completely purple with no whites. Her hair floated around her head as if she was underwater. "You are awake," she said. Her voice had a musical quality to it. "Good. Who are you? Why am I here?" Ethan pulled against his restraints. The alien woman stepped closer. "I am Commander Lyra Vex of the Solarian Empire. You are my prisoner, human." Ethan's military training kicked in. Name, rank, and nothing more. Commander Ethan Cole, Earth Defense Fleet. "I know who you are, Commander Cole." Lyra walked around the table, studying him. "You are the human who destroyed half my fleet. You, with your primitive ships and technology, somehow managed to defeat the most advanced battle group in the Silurian Navy." Ethan stayed silent. He remembered the battle well. The aliens had better ships and weapons, but they fought like machines, too predictable. His human crew adapted quickly, changing tactics when needed. They had surprised the aliens with their unpredictable moves. "I should kill you," Lyra said calmly. "But I find myself curious. How did you do it? How did your kind outthink mine?" "Let me go and maybe I'll tell you," Ethan said. Lyra made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I think not." She pressed a button on a panel near the table. The straps released, but before Ethan could move, a blue energy field surrounded the table. "You may sit up," she said. "The field will stop you from leaving." Ethan sat up slowly, rubbing his wrists. "What do you want from me?" "Knowledge," Lyra said simply. "I want to understand how humans think. Your species is young, your technology basic, yet you fight with a creativity my people lack." What Lyra didn't say was that she needed his help. The Solarian Empire was losing a bigger war against the Krell Dominion, a race of brutal aliens who destroyed everything in their path. Her ship was one of the last Solarian vessels still fighting. If humans could defeat Solarians, maybe they could help defeat the Krell. Over the next few days, Ethan looked for ways to escape. Lyra watched him with growing interest. When she brought him food, he asked questions about the ship. When she tested his reactions with simple games, he learned about her technology. Each small piece of information helped him form a plan. On the third day, while Lyra was checking the medical equipment, Ethan noticed the energy field flickered when she adjusted certain controls. He waited until her back was turned, then rolled off the table just as the field blinked off for a second. He landed silently on the floor. Lyra turned, surprised. "How did you—" Ethan was already moving. He grabbed a small device from her belt that looked like a weapon and pointed it at her. "Turn off the alarms and show me to the escape pods." Instead of looking afraid, Lyra's eyes showed interest. "That is not a weapon. It is a medical scanner." Ethan quickly looked at the device in his hand. In that moment of distraction, Lyra could have called for guards or activated an alarm. Instead, she watched him with what seemed like approval. 6 escape attempts in 3 days, she said. Each one different. Each one clever. My security chief would have tried the same plan again and again until it worked. "Let me go," Ethan said. "I won't harm you or your crew." "I cannot do that," Lyra said. "But I am starting to understand what makes humans special." She stepped closer, ignoring the device still in his hand. "You adapt. You try new approaches when old ones fail. My people would consider that chaotic and undisciplined." Ethan looked for another way out. There were no other doors, no vents big enough to crawl through. He was still trapped. "I have a proposal," Lyra said. "Help me understand how humans think, and I will treat you as a guest rather than a prisoner." "And then what?" Ethan asked. "What happens when you learn all you want to know?" "Then we discuss your return to your people. Lyra said. There is much our species could learn from each other. Ethan didn't trust her, but he saw an opportunity. As a guest, he would have more freedom to explore the ship and plan a better escape. Fine, but I want to be able to move around the ship. With an escort, Lyra agreed. And you will wear a tracker. Deal, Ethan said, lowering the device. As Lyra took back her scanner, she smiled for the first time. It was a small movement of her lips, but it changed her face completely. Impressive, human. Perhaps there's more to your kind than primitive violence after all. Ethan didn't return the smile. He would play along with her game for now. Learn about her ship, find its weaknesses, and when the moment was right, he would escape and return to Earth with information about these aliens. What he didn't know was that Lyra was playing a much bigger game. Her ship wasn't just a warship. It carried the last hopes of her dying civilization, and whether he wanted to or not, Ethan Cole was now part of her desperate plan to save her people. The astral horizon moved quietly through space. For 2 weeks they had been running from the Krell hunting party. 3 times they had nearly been caught. 3 times Ethan's unexpected tactics had saved them. Now they hid in the upper atmosphere of a giant gas planet. The swirling storms below helped mask their energy signature. The ship's outer hull glowed red from the friction, but the advanced Solarian materials could handle the heat. On the observation deck, Ethan stood looking out at the massive storms below. The view was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It's like the storms on Jupiter, but much bigger, he said as Lyra joined him. You have seen much of your own solar system? She asked. I served on the Mars colony for 3 years, Ethan said, and I've flown past Jupiter many times, but nothing compares to this. They stood in silence for a while, watching the swirling clouds. Why did you become a soldier? Lyra asked finally. Ethan thought about it. My father was a soldier, and his father before him, but that's not why I joined. He paused. I believe in protecting people who can't protect themselves. In standing up against bullies. Like the Krell, Lyra said. Yes, like the Krell. Ethan turned to look at her. What about you? Were you always a commander? Lyra's face changed. For a moment, she looked much younger and sadder. No, I was not meant to be a military leader. What were you meant to be? Lyra hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. I was born to rule. My true title is not commander, but Princess Lyra Vex, daughter of Emperor Terran and Empress Nyla of the Solarian Empire. She looked away. But there is no empire now. Just this ship and a few scattered survivors. Ethan was shocked. Your royalty? Why didn't you tell me? What difference would it make? Lyra asked bitterly. A princess of nothing. A queen with no world. It makes a difference to your people, Ethan said gently. You're not just their commander. You're their hope for the future. Lyra looked at him with surprise. You understand more than I expected, human. Ethan, he corrected her. My name is Ethan. Ethan, she repeated softly. The moment was broken by an alarm. One of Lyra's officers rushed onto the deck. Commander, a Krell scout ship has entered the atmosphere. They're scanning for us. Battle stations, Lyra ordered. Prepare to move. They ran to the bridge. The tactical display showed a small Krell ship moving through the clouds about 50 miles away. They haven't spotted us yet, Ethan said, looking at the readings. But they will soon. We cannot outrun them in the atmosphere, Lyra said. And if we leave cover, the main Krell fleet will detect us. Ethan studied the display. We need to take out that scout without using energy weapons. The flash would give away our position. Physical weapons do not work well in this atmosphere, Lyra said. The density affects trajectory. Ethan pointed to a massive storm moving toward them. We don't need weapons. We just need that. Lyra understood immediately. She gave orders to her crew. The astral horizon moved slowly toward the edge of the storm. They released a small probe that broadcast a fake energy signature. The Krell scout took the bait, following the probe directly into the storm. The violent winds tore the smaller ship apart within minutes. That buys us time, Ethan said. But we need to move before they realize their scout is missing. Lyra nodded. Set course for the edge of the system. Maximum speed once we clear the atmosphere. As they prepared to leave their hiding place, a warning sounded. 3 Krell ships had appeared on the long-range sensors. They were cutting off the escape route. They're boxing us in, Ethan said grimly. There. Lyra pointed to a small gap between 2 of the enemy ships. We can make it through if we time it perfectly. The astral horizon shot out of the gas giant's atmosphere like a bullet. The sudden move caught the Krell by surprise. For a few critical seconds, they didn't react. By the time they started firing, Lyra's ship was already slipping through the gap she had identified. But they didn't escape unharmed. A Krell energy beam hit their rear section. The ship shuddered violently. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Hull breach in sections 14 through 17. An officer reported. Emergency force fields are holding. Casualties? Lyra asked. 2 crew members were in section 16. They're not responding. Lyra's face showed no emotion, but Ethan could see the pain in her eyes. 2 more of her people gone. 2 more Silurians who would never see the new homeworld. Seal off the damaged sections, she ordered. Continue evasive maneuvers. The Krell ships pursued them, but the Astral Horizon's engines were more powerful. They gradually pulled ahead. After an hour of tense flying, the enemy ships fell behind. We've lost them for now, Lyra said, but they'll find us again. Later, as they assessed the damage, Ethan helped move supplies from the damaged sections. In one corridor, a piece of loose metal broke free from the ceiling. It fell toward Lyra, its edge sharp as a knife. Without thinking, Ethan pushed her out of the way. The metal sliced into his shoulder instead of her head. He fell to the floor, blood soaking his shirt. Ethan! Lyra knelt beside him. Medical team to Corridor B now. She shouted into her communicator. The world began to fade around Ethan. The last thing he saw was Lyra's face looking down at him, her eyes filled with worry. He woke up in the medical bay. His shoulder was bandaged and the pain was just a dull throb. Lyra sat beside his bed, her eyes closed. She looked exhausted. Hey, he said weakly. Lyra's eyes snapped open. You're awake. How long was I out? 6 hours, she said. The injury was severe. You lost a lot of blood. Did you give me alien blood? Ethan tried to joke. No, but I did something that might anger you. Lyra looked nervous. You were dying. Our medical technology could heal the wound, but the blood loss was too great. I had to make a choice. What did you do? Ethan asked, suddenly concerned. I initiated a partial neural bond, Lyra said. It's forbidden to bond with non-Silurians. It's considered heresy, but it was the only way to stabilize you until your body could recover. Neural bond? Like the interface I tried? Much deeper, Lyra explained. A temporary merging of consciousness. It allowed me to help your body heal from within. She looked away. I'm sorry. I should have asked permission, but there was no time. Ethan was silent, trying to process this. So you were inside my mind? Yes, and you were in mine. Lyra met his eyes. That is why it is forbidden. The bond shares memories, feelings, knowledge. Suddenly, strange images flashed in Ethan's mind. A beautiful city with crystal towers stretching to the sky. A young girl running through gardens of plants that changed colors as she passed. An older man with kind eyes placing a small crown on the girl's head. I can see your world, Ethan whispered. Your childhood home? Lyra nodded. The bond leaves echoes. They will fade with time. More images came to Ethan. Terrible ones. The crystal towers falling, fire in the sky, people screaming, and a face. A Krell face, reptilian and cruel, watching from a view screen as the world burned. Admiral Drazak. Ethan said the name without knowing how he knew it. He ordered the destruction of your world. Lyra's face hardened. Yes, the supreme commander of the Krell forces. The monster who decided my people did not deserve to exist. You're hunting him, Ethan realized. This isn't just about finding a new home for your people. It's about revenge. Justice, Lyra corrected him. He must answer for his crimes. Ethan sat up, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. You're using me. This alliance, it's just a way to get close to Drazak. No, Lyra said quickly. The alliance is real. We need your people's help. But you also need us to help you find Drazak, Ethan pressed. You're using me to get to him, aren't you? This was never just about survival. It's about vengeance. Lyra stood up, her face showing a mix of anger and shame. Yes, I want him dead. Is that so wrong? After what he did to my world, my family, my people? She turned away. Wouldn't you want the same if it were Earth that burned? Ethan had no answer for that. Because deep down he knew she was right. If someone destroyed Earth, he would hunt them to the ends of the galaxy. 3 days had passed since Ethan agreed to be Lyra's guest instead of her prisoner. She had given him a small room near the medical bay. It was simple but comfortable. The door locked from the outside, but he could call for his escort when he wanted to move around the ship. Ethan was learning about the Solarians. They were an old species who valued order and logic. They looked down on younger races like humans. They believed their way of thinking was superior. But the battle at Proxima Centauri had shaken that belief. Lyra took Ethan to different parts of the ship each day. She showed him their food production areas, their relaxation spaces, and even their training rooms. But never the bridge or the engine rooms. Those were still off limits. Ethan noticed something strange. The ship seemed empty. He rarely saw other crew members. When he asked about it, Lyra changed the subject. On the fourth morning, Ethan was woken by a loud alarm. The lights in his room flashed red. The ship shook violently, throwing him from his bed to the floor. His door slid open. Lyra stood there wearing what looked like battle armor. "Come with me," she said urgently. "We are under attack." "Who's attacking?" Ethan asked as he quickly put on his boots. "The Krell," she said. The name meant nothing to Ethan, but the fear in her voice told him everything he needed to know. "They found us." Another explosion rocked the ship. Lyra stumbled, and Ethan caught her arm to steady her. "Take me to the bridge," he said. "I can help." Lyra hesitated, then nodded. They ran through corridors that were filling with smoke. Emergency lights flashed everywhere. They passed a few crew members rushing to different stations, far fewer than should be on a ship this size. The bridge was a large room with viewing screens instead of windows. The screens showed several massive ships surrounding them. They were dark and angular, completely different from the smooth lines of Lyra's ship. Energy weapons fired from the enemy ships hitting the shields around Lyra's vessel. "Shields at 40%, a crew member called out. Only 3 other Silurians were on the bridge. "Where is everyone?" Ethan asked. "Where's your crew?" "Dead," Lyra said simply. "Most died at Proxima Centauri. The rest in battles before we found your fleet." Another hit rocked the ship. "Shields at 28%, the crew member reported. "We can't fight them," Lyra said. "We need to run." Ethan looked at the tactical displays. He had been studying Solarian technology for days. "Your main engines are damaged," he said. "You can't outrun them." "Then we die here," Lyra said calmly. Ethan pointed to a small moon orbiting a nearby gas giant. "No, head there. The magnetic fields will disrupt their sensors. We can hide in the shadow of the moon." Lyra looked at him with suspicion. "Why help us?" "This could be your chance to escape. If your ship is destroyed, I die too," Ethan said simply. "Let me help." Lyra gave orders to her crew. The ship changed course, heading for the small moon. The enemy ships followed, still firing. "They're gaining on us," Ethan said, looking at the displays. "Your weapons, can they create a plasma cloud?" "Yes," Lyra said, "but it would drain power from the shields." "Do it," Ethan said. "Right before we reach the moon's shadow." Lyra hesitated, then gave the order. As they approached the moon, her ship released a massive cloud of energized plasma behind them. The cloud expanded, temporarily blinding the enemy sensors. In that moment, they slipped into the shadow of the moon, cutting all power except life support. They floated in silence, holding their breath. The enemy ships moved past them, scanning for their trail. "It worked," Lyra whispered after several minutes. The enemy ships were moving away, continuing their search in the wrong direction. "They'll be back," Ethan said. "We need to repair your engines." For the next few hours, Ethan and Lyra worked side by side with her remaining crew. He suggested ways to reroute power. She implemented his ideas with her superior knowledge of the ship's systems. They worked well together, anticipating each other's needs without speaking. When the engines were back online at partial power, Lyra took Ethan to a small dining area for a meal. They were both exhausted. "You fought well today," she said, passing him a container of food. "Better than I expected." "I'm a soldier," Ethan said. "It's what I do." "You helped save an enemy ship," Lyra pointed out. "Many humans would have let us die." Ethan shrugged. "I'm not that kind of person." Lyra studied him for a moment. "No, you are not." She seemed to make a decision. "There is something I must show you." She led him to a section of the ship he hadn't seen before. They entered a large chamber filled with glowing containers. Each container held what looked like seeds, embryos, and data crystals. "What is this?" Ethan asked. "The future of my people," Lyra said quietly. "This ship, the Astral Horizon, is not just a warship. It is a seed ship. It carries all that remains of Solarian civilization." Ethan looked at her in shock. "What happened to your world?" "The Krell happened," Lyra said. Her voice was flat, but her eyes showed deep pain. They destroyed our homeworld 3 of your Earth years ago. They have hunted the survivors ever since. This ship carries the last genetic samples of my people, our history, our knowledge. You're all that's left? Ethan asked. There may be other ships that escaped, but yes, we are among the last. Lyra touched one of the glowing containers gently. My mission is to find a safe place to start again. To rebuild. Ethan was silent for a long moment. Humans had always feared meeting hostile aliens. They had built their defense fleet expecting the worst. But seeing Lyra's people reduced to a handful of survivors and a ship full of frozen embryos changed everything. The Krell, he said finally. Do they attack all other species? Yes, Lyra said. They believe they are the only species worthy of existence. All others are meant to be destroyed or enslaved. Ethan made a decision. My people need to know about this threat. And your people need allies. He looked at Lyra directly. I propose an alliance. Humans and Solarians against the Krell. Lyra's eyes widened. You would ally with us? After we attacked your fleet. You were looking for a safe place, Ethan said. You were desperate. I understand that now. Lyra considered his words. My remaining commanders would never accept surrender to humans. Then don't call it surrender, Ethan said. Keep me as your prisoner officially, but let me contact my people. We can work together. Lyra was silent for a long time. Finally, she nodded. Very well. We will try your alliance. But the Krell must never know. If they learn that humans exist, they will target your world next. We'll be careful, Ethan promised. Now let's get your ship moving again. We need to reach human space without the Krell finding us. As they walked back to the bridge, Lyra began explaining Solarian technology in more detail. She showed Ethan how their neural interfaces worked, allowing crew members to connect directly with the ship's systems. Would you like to try? She asked, offering him a small device that would connect to his temples. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Lyra placed the device on his head. Suddenly he could feel the ship around him. Information flowed into his mind. This is amazing, he said, navigating through the ship's systems with surprising ease. Lyra watched him with growing suspicion. You are adapting too quickly, she said, removing the device. No non-Solarian has ever used our neural interface so easily. What aren't you telling me, human? Ethan looked at her in confusion. Nothing. I just followed the patterns. Lyra's eyes narrowed. We shall see. But as they continued their work, she kept watching him closely as if seeing him for the first time. The astral horizon approached Horizon Station, the farthest human outpost from Earth. The large space station hung in orbit around a small rocky planet that humans had not yet colonized. Its many docking arms extended like the spokes of a wheel. They're hailing us, Lyra's communications officer reported. Ethan stepped forward. Since recovering from his injury, things had been tense between him and Lyra. He had agreed to help arrange this meeting with Earth military leaders, but he still had doubts about her true intentions. This is Commander Ethan Cole of the Earth Defense Fleet, he said into the comm system, requesting permission to dock with one Solarian vessel. We come under a flag of truce to discuss a mutual threat. There was a long pause before the reply came. Commander Cole, you were reported missing in action 3 months ago. Your ship was destroyed at Proxima Centauri. I was captured, not killed, Ethan explained. I'll explain everything once we dock. This is urgent, another pause. Permission granted. Proceed to docking arm 7. Security teams will meet you there. As the ship moved toward the station, Lyra joined Ethan on the bridge. She wore formal Solarian attire, a sleek silver-blue uniform with subtle insignia of her royal house. Are you ready for this? Ethan asked her. I have prepared all my life to represent my people, Lyra said, though I never imagined it would be like this. The docking went smoothly. When the airlock opened, 20 armed soldiers waited for them. Among them stood a woman with short red hair and a commander's insignia. Penny Morgan, Ethan's former second-in-command. Ethan! Penny stepped forward, relief clear on her face. Then she saw Lyra and the other Solarians behind him. Her hand moved to her weapon. Are you here under duress? No, Ethan said quickly. I'm here voluntarily. These are allies, not enemies. Penny looked skeptical but nodded. Admiral Wilson is waiting in the conference room. He wants a full briefing. As they walked through the station, humans stopped to stare at the Solarians. Most had never seen an alien before. Lyra held her head high, ignoring the looks. In a large conference room, several high-ranking officers waited. Admiral Wilson, a stern man with gray hair, stood as they entered. Commander Cole, he said. Welcome back from the dead. His eyes moved to Lyra. And this is? Princess Lyra Vex of the Silurian Empire, Ethan introduced her. Last surviving member of their royal family and commander of their seed ship, the Astral Horizon. For the next hour, Ethan and Lyra explained everything. The destruction of the Silurian homeworld, the threat of the Krell, and their proposal for an alliance. Let me get this straight, Admiral Wilson said when they finished. You want us to ally with the very aliens who attacked our fleet at Proxima Centauri? They were desperate, Ethan said, looking for a safe place to rebuild. And how do we know this Krell threat is real? Another officer asked. We only have their word for it. I've seen evidence, Ethan insisted. The Krell are real and they're coming. If they find Earth, they'll do to us what they did to the Silurians. Penny had been quiet until now. She passed a tablet to Ethan. You should see this. Intelligence reports we've gathered since your disappearance. Ethan looked at the screen. It showed intercepted communications and analysis from human scout ships. His heart sank as he read. According to the reports, the Silurians had initiated the conflict with the Krell through an unprovoked attack on a Krell outpost. He looked up at Lyra, who was speaking with another admiral. She had never mentioned this. Excuse me, he said to Penny. He walked out of the conference room into a small side office. After a moment, Lyra followed him. What's wrong? She asked. Ethan handed her the tablet. Is this true? Did your people attack the Krell first? Lyra read the report. Her face showed a mixture of shame and defiance. Yes, but it's not that simple. Then explain it to me, Ethan said coldly. Because from where I stand, you lied about everything. Lyra set the tablet down. My parents, the Emperor and Empress, ordered the attack. Our oracles had foreseen the Krell expanding into our space. They predicted the Krell would eventually attack us. So you attacked first? Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. It was meant to be a warning, Lyra said, a show of strength to keep them away from our borders. She looked down. We thought we were protecting ourselves. Instead, we precipitated our own destruction. Ethan paced the small room. You should have told me this from the beginning. Would you have helped me if I had? Lyra challenged him. Before Ethan could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Penny burst into the room. Krell ships just appeared at the edge of the system, she reported. A full battle fleet. They'll reach the station in 20 minutes. How? Lyra looked shocked. How did they find us? I don't know, Ethan said. But we need to evacuate the station now. They rushed back to the conference room. Chaos had erupted as officers received reports and gave orders. Admiral Wilson was organizing the defense. All civilian personnel to escape pods, he ordered. Military personnel to battle stations. Launch all fighter squadrons, Admiral, Ethan said urgently. The station can't stand against a Krell fleet. You need to send a warning to Earth. Already done, Wilson said grimly. But Earth's fleet is days away. We're on our own. Lyra stepped forward. My ship can help defend the station. Wilson looked at her with suspicion. How do I know you didn't lead them here? That's absurd, Ethan defended her. She's running from them, not working with them. In the midst of the argument, Lyra slipped away. Ethan noticed her absence too late. By the time he reached the docking bay, the Astral Horizon was already detaching from the station. Lyra, he called over the comm. What are you doing? Her face appeared on the screen. There was sadness in her eyes. I'm sorry, Ethan. This is the only way to save what's left of my people. You're running? Ethan couldn't believe it. After everything we've been through? Not running, Lyra said softly. You'll understand soon. The communication cut off. The Astral Horizon moved away from the station, its engines glowing brightly. She's abandoning us, Penny said, joining Ethan at the viewport. No, Ethan said slowly. That's not her plan. A terrible realization dawned on him. She's going to attack the Krell directly. That's suicide, Penny said. Maybe that's her intention, Ethan replied. He turned to her urgently. I need a ship. You can't be serious, Penny protested. You want to follow her? I have to stop her, Ethan said. And I think I know how she's planning to fight the Krell. Penny hesitated, then nodded. Take my personal shuttle. It's fast, but it has minimal weapons. Ethan rushed to the shuttle bay. As he prepared for launch, he remembered something from the neural bond with Lyra. When they had shared consciousness, he had glimpsed not just her memories, but her plans. She had extracted Earth defense codes during their connection. Codes that could make her ship appear as a human vessel on Krell sensors. She was going to trick the Krell into thinking they were fighting humans, not Solarians. She would sacrifice herself to protect both their peoples. "Shuttle Valiant requesting emergency launch clearance," Ethan said into the comm. "Clearance granted," came the reply. "Good luck, Commander." The shuttle shot out of the station. Ahead, he could see the astral horizon moving toward the approaching Krell fleet. The enemy ships were massive, black, angular vessels bristling with weapons. "Lyra," Ethan called over all frequencies. "Lyra, respond." No answer came. The astral horizon accelerated, heading directly for the center of the Krell formation. Ethan pushed his shuttle to maximum speed. He had to reach her before it was too late, before she threw her life away in a misguided attempt at redemption. As he flew, Ethan realized something that had been growing inside him since he first met the alien princess. Despite her deceptions, despite her hidden agenda, he had come to care for her. Perhaps even more than care. The neural bond had connected them in ways he was only beginning to understand. He had seen her true self, not just the strong commander or the determined princess, but the scared young woman trying to bear the weight of her entire civilization on her shoulders. And now she was about to sacrifice herself for a people who weren't even her own. "Not while I'm alive," Ethan muttered, pushing the shuttle's engines beyond their safety limits. "No more tricks, Lyra, not from either of us." Ahead, the astral horizon entered weapons range of the Krell fleet. The lead Krell ship fired the first shot. The battle had begun. The space between Horizon Station and the approaching Krell fleet blazed with weapons fire. The astral horizon moved with incredible speed, dodging enemy beams while firing its own weapons. From his shuttle, Ethan watched in awe as Lyra's ship tore through the Krell formation. The Krell seemed confused. Their ships turned in different directions, unsure which target to focus on. Ethan realized Lyra's plan was working. Using the Earth defense codes, she had made her ship appear as multiple human vessels on their sensors, but the trick wouldn't last long. Already, the largest Krell ship was moving toward the astral horizon, its massive weapons charging. Ethan's shuttle was small enough to slip past the outer Krell ships unnoticed. He approached the astral horizon from below, seeking the emergency docking port he knew was there. His shuttle's communication system beeped with an incoming message. "Ethan, turn back." Lyra's voice was calm but firm. "This is not your fight." "It became my fight when you stole Earth defense codes," Ethan replied, still maneuvering toward her ship. "What were you thinking?" "I'm saving your people," Lyra said. "The Krell now believe humans are a greater threat than Silurians. They will focus their attention on your outposts rather than hunting my ship." "And that makes it okay?" Ethan's voice rose in anger. "You're sacrificing my people to save yours?" There was a pause. "No, I'm sacrificing myself." On his screen, Ethan could see that the astral horizon was changing course, heading directly toward the largest Krell ship, the one that likely carried Admiral Drazak. "You're going to ram them," Ethan realized with horror. "The astral horizon's power core will destroy Drazak's ship when it detonates," Lyra confirmed. "My crew has already evacuated in escape pods. I've transferred all the genetic samples in our cultural database to a secure storage unit. It will survive the explosion." "And you?" Ethan asked, though he already knew the answer. "Someone must pilot the ship to its target," Lyra said simply. "It is fitting that the last royal blood of Solara be spilled to avenge our people." "I'm not letting you do this," Ethan said, accelerating his shuttle toward the emergency dock. "There's another way." "There is no other way," Lyra insisted. "Turn back, Ethan. Live. Tell your people about mine." The shuttle shuddered as a Krell energy beam grazed its hull. Warning lights flashed in the cockpit. Ethan ignored them, focusing on reaching the astral horizon. "Lyra, listen to me," he said urgently. "The Krell will keep coming. Killing Drazak won't stop them. But an alliance between humans and Solarians might—" "An alliance?" Lyra sounded bitter. "Your leaders saw the truth about us. They know we started this war. They will never trust us now." "Then we make them trust us," Ethan said, finally reaching the emergency docking port. Together, the shuttle clanged against the Solarian ship's hull. Docking clamps engaged. Ethan sealed his flight suit and moved quickly to the airlock. Inside the astral horizon, emergency lights flashed red. The ship rocked with each hit from Krell weapons. Ethan ran through the corridors heading for the bridge. He knew the way by heart now. The bridge was empty except for Lyra. She stood at the main control console, her hands moving over the controls as she guided the ship toward its target. She didn't look up when Ethan entered. "You shouldn't have come," she said. "You shouldn't have left," he countered. Lyra finally turned to face him. There was a cut on her forehead, and her uniform was torn at the shoulder. "I did what I had to do." "No." Ethan moved closer. "You did what you thought you had to do." "There's a difference." Another hit rocked the ship. The lights flickered. "Hull integrity at 42%, the ship's computer announced. Collision course locked. Impact in 3 minutes. "Lyra, listen to me," Ethan said, taking her by the shoulders. "I've seen inside your mind. I know you want revenge for your people, but I also know that's not all you want." Lyra tried to pull away, but he held firm. "You want your people to live," he continued. "To have a future. And they can, but not like this." "It's too late," Lyra said. "The Krell will never stop hunting us. Not if we stop them first," Ethan insisted. "Not just Drazak, but all of them. Humans and Solarians together." The ship shuddered again. A console exploded in a shower of sparks. "Hull integrity at 37%, the computer reported. Impact in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Ethan released Lyra and moved to the navigation console. "I'm aborting the collision course." "No." Lyra tried to stop him, but another blast threw her off balance. Ethan quickly entered commands, changing the ship's trajectory. "We're getting out of here, now." "You don't understand," Lyra said, struggling to her feet. "I have to finish this. Why?" Ethan demanded. "Because of some misguided sense of duty, or because you can't face rebuilding after everything you've lost." Lyra's face showed her shock at his words. "I've been in your mind, remember?" Ethan said more gently. "I know how tired you are, how much you've lost. But this isn't the answer." "Then what is?" Lyra asked, her voice breaking for the first time since he'd known her. Ethan pointed to a storage unit near the main console. "Is that the genetic repository?" Lyra nodded. "Then grab it," he said. "We're leaving." Another explosion rocked the ship, larger than before. Alarms blared. "Engine containment failing," the computer announced. "Core breach imminent." "Too late," Lyra said. "We'll never reach your shuttle before the core explodes," Ethan thought quickly. "The emergency escape pod near the medical bay. Is it still there?" "Yes, but no buts, move." They ran through the shaking ship, Lyra carrying the precious storage unit. Fires had broken out in several corridors. Smoke filled the air. Twice they had to find alternate routes as passageways collapsed. The escape pod was small, designed for only one person, but it would have to do. "Get in," Ethan said, opening the hatch. Lyra hesitated. "What about you?" "We'll both fit, barely." Ethan helped her inside, then squeezed in after her. The pod was cramped, their bodies pressed together. He reached around her to access the launch controls. "Core breach in 30 seconds, came the ship's final warning. Ethan hit the launch button. The pod shot away from the dying ship, small thrusters pushing it clear of the battle. Behind them, the astral horizon exploded in a brilliant flash of blue-white light. The shockwave caught the pod, sending it tumbling through space. Ethan held Lyra tight as they were thrown against the pod's restraints. When the tumbling stopped, they looked out the small viewport. The explosion had damaged several Krell ships. The rest were pulling back, regrouping. "They're retreating," Lyra said in disbelief. "For now," Ethan agreed, "but they'll be back." In the distance, ships were launching from Horizon Station, a mixture of human military vessels and civilian transports. A squadron of fighters approached their pod, escorting it back to the station. Hours later, Ethan stood in Admiral Wilson's office. The station was on high alert, preparing for another possible Krell attack. But for now they had a reprieve. "You directly disobeyed orders." "Commander," Wilson said sternly. "Yes, sir," Ethan admitted. "You risked your life and a valuable military asset to save an alien who stole our defense codes." "Yes, sir." Wilson leaned back in his chair. "And in doing so, you may have saved this station and given us our first real tactical advantage against these Krell." Ethan looked up in surprise. The data recovered from the Silurian ship contains detailed information about Krell tactics, weaknesses, and communication protocols, Wilson explained. "It's more than we could have gathered in years of fighting them." "And the Alliance?" Ethan asked. "What about Princess Lyra's proposal?" Wilson's face became serious again. "That's not my decision to make. Earth Central Command is still deliberating." He stood up. But for what it's worth, I'm recommending they approve it. Ethan felt relief wash over him. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet, Wilson warned. There will be conditions. Strict ones. And Princess Lyra will need to answer for her actions. She will, Ethan assured him. She understands what's at stake now. After leaving Wilson's office, Ethan went to the medical bay where Lyra was being treated for minor injuries. She sat on the edge of a bed, looking out a viewport at the stars. She seemed smaller somehow, more vulnerable without her ship and crew. How are you feeling? Ethan asked. Strange, Lyra admitted. For so long, my only purpose was revenge. Now? She trailed off. Now you have to figure out how to live instead. Ethan finished for her. Lyra nodded. The genetic repository is safe. My people have a chance at a future, but I don't know what my place in it is anymore. Ethan sat beside her. Earth Central Command is considering the alliance. Admiral Wilson is supporting it. After everything I did? Lyra looked skeptical. After I stole your defense codes? After I nearly led the Krell to your outpost? You also gave us valuable intelligence about the Krell, Ethan pointed out. And you were willing to sacrifice yourself to protect both our peoples. Lyra was quiet for a moment. What happens now? Now we rebuild, Ethan said simply. We find a safe world for your people. We prepare for the fight against the Krell. Together. From his pocket, Ethan pulled out a small object, a royal insignia he had found in the escape pod. It had fallen from Lyra's uniform during their escape. He held it out to her. Your people need their leader, he said. Lyra looked at the insignia but didn't take it. Instead, she reached out and closed Ethan's fingers around it.